Today I had the chance to sit down with one of my colleagues here at Purdue University, a full-ride biomedical engineering student, and kind of pick his brain about what he did to earn a scholarship, how life at Purdue is going, and what you guys can do to get the kind of scholarship that he earned and succeed in your application process. I learned a lot in this interview, and I'm hoping that you guys can learn just as much as I did as well. Enjoy. Also, we go over a lot of information in this video and reference a lot of resources. All of that is summarized at the end of the video in the last clip. All right, so I want to start get this going by getting to know you a bit. So tell all of us a bit about what are you doing at Purdue, what's your major, and what you're involved in on campus.
So I'm a biomedical engineer right now, sophomore in Purdue University. I'm trying to do an MD, PhD, and everyone will think I'm crazy.
So you're doing undergrad, then med school, and then a PhD on top? Is that what you're trying to do?
That's the plan as of right now.
Oh, wow. So why exactly?
I'm just really into pursuing a graduate education.
And so you've also always been into BME, biomedical engineering stuff as well.
In high school, I did research. It was just shadowing some professor and thinking that I was really cool. But I did some research with biomedical engineers, but I never thought of anything highly until I saw kind of more devices.
And how many schools did you apply to? Was it like maybe 2 or 3? Or I know some students have like 10, 11, 12.
I think like 7.
Okay, because I had like way too many. I had 10 or 11. When it comes to getting into Purdue, were there any things that really stood out about your application that a lot of other students might not have had? If there's anything off the top of your head that comes to mind.
Small little research experience that I had.
Okay.
I felt like that carried so much farther than I expected. Full scholarships through the Honors College. And the Honors College has its pillars. One of them is leadership, community, research. But most of the other kids have the other 3, community and leadership.
Yeah.
But they value research so much, and the ability for me to say, yes, I did research in high school. Yeah. Me going from high school to college with that experience just put me above so many other kids.
Yeah, I have friends that are in honors as well, and they talk about the main reason that honors can be preferable to just doing a regular degree is the research opportunities that you get. I think other than that, especially for something like engineering, I haven't seen too many students find something useful out of it. But in your case, with the research opportunities and the fact that you're into that, I think that's really cool. Just a couple slighter questions. Did you take ACT or SAT?
Both.
Okay, both. And you're an in-state student?
Out of state.
Oh, really? So now I want to get to the one question that everyone's here for. How did you land a full-ride scholarship to a top 5 engineering school in the U.S.?
I felt like I was always coming at a bit of a disadvantage, and it was because of the ACT and SAT. I couldn't do reading if my life depended on it. The highest composite I ever got was 31.
Oh, wow.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And it just shows what I think is the most important thing is the essays, but also kind of knowing what you want to do or convincing them. Because when it comes to scholarships versus applying to schools, I always thought applying to schools was more like college thinking. Would you fit their community, their way of thinking, all of that? Yeah. But once it comes to scholarships, these colleges are investing in you, and they want to believe that you could actually perform in their school, not just fit in. Okay. And so I think that with my essay, I was really good at portraying that I could perform and better the whole Purdue University as a whole. And that right there was just enough to get me through. So
this scholarship came from Purdue?
Yes.
What exactly was it about your essay that took it to the next level?
So the essay, it was about where do you see yourself in 5 years? And so at the time, I was thinking about mechanical engineering, but I knew I wanted to do research.
So you talked about research?
I didn't know at the time that I really wanted to do research, but I said I would be a researcher.
Okay.
And then I talked about all the things that would be necessary for, say, an undergraduate education. Yeah. That would make me become a better researcher. Because my sister's applying to colleges too, and I feel like she runs into this problem where she wants to become a doctor, so she focuses on becoming a doctor. Yeah. But most of these colleges, especially if you're going to apply to grad school, understand that it's not easy to get into grad school. And so right now, they want to see, can you succeed as an undergrad? Yeah. And you should really try to focus on that, especially in the essays. And that's what I thought I focused on a lot. Okay. And
so one takeaway that I'm getting that is pretty strong is that your high school experience is tied into what you did in your essay. For example, or I should say tied into your interests in college as well. Like you talked about, you did research in high school, and then you talked about in your essay that you want to do research at Purdue and how that fits into you becoming a better student in 5 years. So I'm kind of thinking that that's what you wrote about, right?
Yeah. So okay. I would take everything. I went on their website and found the 4 pillars, and I took the 4 pillars and I split it up into 4 different paragraphs. And by those pillars, I would say I like this at Purdue that they're doing that covers this pillar. I've done this, and I want to improve on myself coming here to Purdue.
Yeah.
And this is vital for me when becoming a researcher for undergraduate education because of blah, blah, blah.
See, that right there is very smart. You're tying yourself into the kind of system that you're applying to, which shows that you did your research and that you really care. So when it comes to the other students who earned this scholarship, can you touch on some of their experiences and what kind of things they did that helped them stand out?
The funny thing is that I remember talking to a student, and he asked me actually about the essay that I wrote, and I told him kind of what I said. He's like, I did the same thing too. All the other students, they also had that research experience too.
Research experience.
So that's why I felt like especially that research experience carried a bit extra.
Yeah, because the only 2 people that I know that have that scholarship, which is you and another girl, she also had a research experience that got published while she was in high school. I guess the takeaway when it comes to the scholarship is research is big. I think Purdue is also a huge research college, with billions of dollars every year going into research. So showing that you're interested in research is a big plus at these big schools. So for a student who is, in the shoes that you were in 2 years ago, applying to colleges, they don't have any scholarships right now. Where would you recommend they go to look for scholarships? Because I'm sure there was a point where you were looking out for these too. What would you recommend they do? Because I know, for example, you can go to your school advisor. You can look online. I tried looking online a lot. Well, the only thing that worked for me was going to my advisor and seeing the scholarships that were in my community that were being given to students that were going out to college and that kind of thing. So the community aspect worked for me. I didn't get any luck with the actual schools that I was applying to, but out of the people that you know and in your own experience, did you see anything else that might have worked or any other place to look that would be a good place to go?
Talk to students from the schools, because say like my scholarship, I never knew it existed until I got the email. There's a lot of scholarships opportunities that you just don't know about. And you're going to have to ask. I think that asking people who've been through the situation or received a couple scholarships, asking them just to know that they exist. Because at the same time, going to the community, say my community, there's like a couple thousand one time a year. That's still not enough to pay most of it. Going to students that have received a considerable amount of money and asking them what they did would be very, very useful, and I wish that I did as a student.
Yeah,
as well.
I definitely did not do that. But the thing is with me, and I think a lot of students, they're really unsure about where they want to go, because I didn't decide about Purdue until like late April, and we're supposed to decide by early May. So my decision was totally up in the air. I know a lot of other students. So that is a challenge that students have. But I think if you are a student that has a good idea of where you want to go, at least 2 or 3 ideas, and I think that is something that is really good to do. And in terms of making your application unique, is there anything else you would recommend you do other than the thing that you did, which was looking at the organization and seeing, their pillars, what they endorse, what their values are? Is there anything else you can do to make your application unique?
I could tell you what they told us, why they chose us. So what they told us on the day that they brought us on, there's 2 types of full ride scholarships at Purdue. There's the stamps, which is actually at a bunch of other universities too. So if you're looking for a decent scholarship at a bunch of universities, the Stamps Foundation. At those Stamps scholars, they said that they chose them based on when they talked about seeing themselves in 5 years. They looked at these students and said in 4 years, after they get their undergrad, they're going to do something amazing. They chose my scholarship saying that they've given so much to the community that they want to give something back. Mm-hmm. And that's what the Berry Scholarship is about.
So I think we've talked a lot about scholarships. I want to switch gears a bit and talk about Purdue. So you'd say that Purdue was the right decision compared to your other top options. So I should ask, what were your other top choices?
I had Georgia Tech. I had Virginia Tech. I had Washington University in St. Louis. I had Illinois Urbana-Champaign. It was going to be between Georgia Tech and Purdue. And especially when people ask me if you got into MIT, would you go? I would say no.
Why?
Because MIT is an institution and not a school.
What does that mean?
I feel like when I hear an institution, I think of a factory of kids just being beaten up until something comes out.
Yeah, MIT I think is very cutthroat, like you were talking about before. You are expected to perform, and if you're not at that level, then it is extremely difficult to get through that process. And same with Berkeley. I think that's another school that is very tough on students. Right now, it's kind of the tail end of college application season. So is there any advice that you'd give to students that are applying to colleges right now that you would have given yourself 2 years ago this time when you were applying yourself? Because for me, I think the biggest thing is you need to make yourself unique in your applications. And the essays are the way you do that. But how exactly you make yourself unique that's the challenge. And I think talking about your passions, specifically, that even if it doesn't relate to education or whatever, if you talk about the things that you are most passionate about and how that could tie into your school life, into your work life, and how that'll help you develop as you're a student here at college, I think that's the biggest thing. And that I wish I had done more of, not just talking about your passions, but how it ties into your school life and how your school can help you become a better version of yourself in your most passionate things.
A couple of things, and I say that actually, if I were to advise myself, is to kind of just buckle down and write those essays. All the teachers that, you never talked to before, all those English teachers, all the people in your classrooms, ask them to read your essays, because especially with that scholarship essay, that's what I did. I talked to 3 English teachers. One of them I've actually never met before. Just walked in and asked them to help. Yeah. And I passed it by a couple students too. And just remember that, you're not alone. You have your resources, so make sure you use them too. Yeah, that's good. I want to ask you a couple of ACT prep questions. So, because this is an ACT prep channel, what's your ACT story? How many times did you take the test? What happened? How'd it go? 1, 2, 3, 5.
I took it 5 times.
I took it 5 times. First one, I think 25, then 30. Oh, there was one night that I just couldn't go to sleep the night before.
Okay, and that was your 3rd time?
That was my 3rd time. And then after the summer, spending summer studying, I got 31.
As a senior?
As a senior. Yeah. When was it? August, September, that ACT. And what happened is that when I said I felt like I got betrayed, I hate science. Because say the one that I got a 30 on, which is 1 point lower, I actually got a 33 on science. But at that moment, I actually got a 29 in math.
Oh, so it went down.
And so when I came back here, I got a 34 in math, but then my science down to a 27.
Oh, wow.
And my reading was a 28, so my reading was better than my science all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Which was kind of, sad.
Yeah, it's a constant game. And now in the ACT, I think starting next year, they're going to allow super scoring. So you can basically submit your best score as well as take individual sections by themselves on a test date. So if you want to go on the test date and just take your science or just take your reading and then leave, they will allow you to do that and then super score. Which, looking back, if I had that and if you had that, I think we would definitely have taken advantage of that. That would have taken my score up at least 1 or 2 more points. My story is very similar. I took the ACT. I took a practice test my first time, got a 21. And then after a few times practicing, I finally got it up to a 31. And then I took it 3 times, got 32s on each one. And then I finally got a 33 as a senior. So, again, it's a lot of effort. But I think the main thing is practicing. And we always preach identifying your weaknesses and learning from them when you go over your tests and try to just learn everything that you can. That's about it. So I really want to thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it. And I think this was a really insightful session where I learned a lot. And I'm sure the people that are watching will learn a lot as well. That was my discussion with Omar. Again, it was really, really interesting, and I want to highlight a few takeaways that I think are really important. The first thing is you need to try to make yourself unique. The moment that you try to make your application well-rounded, just like every other student, is the moment that you do not win scholarships. Remember, the people that are reading these scholarship applications or college applications, they're looking for people that have unique stories, unique passions, and that'll bring those unique passions to their schools and make them a better place to study. Maybe you have a YouTube channel, maybe you've worked on an app, maybe you really like coding or aviation or something else. Tie that passion into your essay and tie that into how it's going to make you a better person, a better student, a better employee, boss, business leader, startup leader later on in life, and how college is going to help you do that. Tie those things together because that's where you really get a powerful, engaging, and the best essay that you can possibly write if it's something that you're really passionate about. I've seen from experience how this works and how it can backfire if you don't do it, because this is something that I did not do when I was applying to colleges. I tried to make myself well-rounded and I did get into the schools that I wanted to, but I didn't get the scholarships that I applied to. I applied to so many scholarships and I kept trying to make myself well-rounded. Believe me, if you follow the procedure that Omar and others like him that have followed this procedure follow, you will definitely see better results. But remember, you have experiences that have significantly motivated and fulfilled you, and you need to talk about those because that's what makes you and your experiences unique. So we talked about why research in high school is so important. So the question is, how do you get research in high school? Well, what Omar did, he basically just shadowed a professor. Now, it can be kind of hard to find these opportunities if you are someone that lives close by a local community college or a big school like Purdue, Princeton, Harvard, Stanford, whatever. Any school that you are close by to, reach out to your connections. Maybe you know a teacher that has some connections at these schools, or you have a parent, family, friend, whatever. Try to find an informal connection that you can possibly talk to, show interest to, that'll eventually lead to a position. Or you can go for a formal research program, summer program, something like that. A lot of these schools have this stuff. You can just look up a program for a school that you're interested, see what they offer. I know students that have done this, not just for research things, but also for like business startup summer camps or engineering summer camps, things like that. Try to get engaged and get engaged early. But I think your best bet is by looking at local colleges and just reaching out to people. Send emails, send a professor that you know, a description of who you are, maybe a letter that says that you're really interested and talks about your passions, send them a resume. Try your very best to just reach out to the connections you have and make the most of that, because that can definitely work. I've seen it work myself in terms of getting research. Just reach out to professors. Doesn't even matter if you've never met them before. It's better to send an email than to just not try anything. Also, the STAMPS scholarship program is something you can look at. That's something that Omar talked about, and he knows a few people that have gotten that scholarship. If he recommends it, then I recommend you look at it as well. Another thing you should keep in mind is that Omar is an out-of-state student. He's not from Indiana, but he still got one of the most coveted scholarships at the school. So again, it is very possible. Don't think that just because you're an out-of-state student, your chances are gone. It can still work. You have to make yourself unique. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Lastly, asking people to read your essays is a huge, huge plus, because they'll be able to see what the flaws are and how you can make it better. The more diverse the people that are reading your essays are in terms of age and experience, that can help your essay shape into a better product. So at the end of this, I hope this was a helpful discussion, and I hope that it can help you guys exceed your expectations and get the scholarships that you're looking for in your college application process. I know it's January and college applications are just about ending at this point, so best of luck in your applications and in the admissions, and I wish you the very best. If you guys like this interview format, then please be sure to let us know. We love your feedback. Give us any tips. Constructive feedback is great, and we want to keep doing this to provide you with interesting college experiences from real college students. Thank you. Goodbye. So this is part of a new series that we're doing where we're interviewing college students with interesting experiences with scholarships, applications, or just interesting experiences in general, so that we can all learn from them and provide you guys with the best advice in terms of how to apply to colleges, which colleges to go to, and how to succeed in college in general. So enjoy.